Hi guys, it is Liam from L&J Adventures here, and I'm back with another video. It is a trip announcement. Jenny and I are going back to a Disney park. Later this month, we are going to Disneyland Paris for 3 nights. And just ahead of the trip, really, I thought I'd put out a little bit of a planning video, breaking down our trip from perspectives of accommodation, transport, food, and just obviously looking at some of the smaller bits like how the disability services typically work in the Disneyland Paris parks and some of the attractions and events that we're looking forward to for this trip. It is Disneyland Paris's 30th anniversary at the moment. It's in the final stretch. The finale celebrations are currently ongoing. They run until the end of September this year. And we just thought it'd be a great time to go along, check out what's going on in both of the parks. But ultimately, this video is kind of a bit of a build up to the upcoming vlog series we have coming out on our channel, but also will hopefully help any of you out there who are looking to plan a Disneyland Paris trip anytime soon, kind of looking at your different options when it comes to the different aspects of booking a Disneyland Paris trip, because as with any Disney holiday, it can obviously be quite tricky to get your head around. Now, this channel, we're basically focused on vlogging. We have done we've done a London theatre trip. We're definitely into our theatre, but we're also into obviously the Disney parks and Disney travel as well. So if you like anything like that, or just like travel vlogs in general, then please do subscribe to our channel, like this video, and of course hit that bell icon so you are notified of any upcoming videos that we have, most notably that Disneyland Paris vlog series, which will be out later this month. But for now, this video is based on focusing on breaking down this Disneyland Paris trip and giving you some tips along the way. So the first place to probably start is with transport. How are you getting to Disneyland Paris in the first place? Now, you've got a few options when you go to Disneyland Paris. You can fly, you can drive, or you can get the Eurostar. Now, we are choosing the Eurostar for this trip. I'll break down costs at the end of the video in terms of how much everything costs. But for now, we are getting the Eurostar. And that can be, you can get that from London, King's Cross, St Pancras International Station. And that, at the moment, goes directly into Marne-la-Vallée station, which is basically the Disneyland Paris station. It takes you directly onto Disney property. Now, just a little note, this isn't continuing. I believe as of June this year, 2023, the direct service from London's King's Cross St Pancras to Marne-la-Vallée will be suspended. That does not mean that you can't get the Eurostar, though. You can go via Lille. You change at Lille. So you go from London to Lille, and then you get from Lille to Marne-la-Vallée. I have done that in the past myself, and it's absolutely fine. But obviously, as for now, the direct service only running till around June time. Now, we chose the Eurostar because we think it's probably the quickest and easiest way to get to the park, to get into the station, etc. However, there are a couple of other options. You could, for example, fly from any London airport or any UK airport for that matter to Charles de Gaulle airport, and then you can get like a magic shuttle or a taxi or something like that from the airport to Disneyland Paris. I don't know off the top of my head how far that is, but obviously not too far. Disneyland Paris isn't obviously in Paris per se, but it's still quite close to the airport. Alternatively, you can drive. Now, you can basically drive via the Euro shuttle, or Euro Le Shuttle, the Euro tunnel, so to speak. And to do this, you can basically drive to Folkestone, and then you can get basically go along by boat, by ferry over to Calais, and then you can continue driving once you are in France. But yeah, we've chosen to do the Eurostar on this particular occasion. Now, going out, we've gone for Eurostar Standard. Coming back, we've gone for Eurostar Premier. Now, the reason for that, and I'm sure many people have encountered this before, going out, Premier is quite expensive. I think you were talking about £100 extra on top of what we paid. But coming back, we only had to pay about £10 extra to have a Premier seat. So we obviously decided to do that. I've not experienced it before, but we will show it in the vlog. But to my knowledge, the main difference really is that with Premier, you get more space, comfier seats, and I do think you get food included. I think you get like a mini bottle of wine or something, kind of like a cold pasta thing. So by no means is it kind of on par with the class systems that you get on flights, but it's still probably worth doing if it's only like a tenner. I don't reckon it's worthwhile doing if it's an extra £100 or so. So that's the approach we've taken. We are going via Eurostar from London to Disneyland Paris. I'll also add in this section that we have also paid in advance for the Disney Express luggage service. Now, basically how this works is that when you, this works if you're getting the Eurostar into Marne-la-Vallée, you go up to the express desk, you give your luggage in, they then tag that luggage and they will take that directly to your Disney hotel. Now, this only works if you're staying on Disney property. They will take that directly to your Disney Resort hotel, and then you will get given your cards, your park pass, etc. And yeah, then you can go straight into the park. You don't have to worry about going all the way to your hotel, checking in, getting your luggage. You can go into the park, enjoy your first full day, and at the end of that day, return to your Disneyland park hotel, and you can check in at that hotel, and then you'll get your bags. And I believe either they'll be in reception, or sometimes I think they can leave them by your room, but I'm not 100% sure about that. Now, I think one of the things that people probably get confused about the most with Disneyland Paris is accommodation. Now, Disneyland Paris isn't like Walt Disney World Resort in Florida, where you have 26, 27 hotels to choose from. But there is still a decent range of hotels to choose from at Disneyland Paris. And similarly to Florida, they obviously range in price. Now, one end of the spectrum, you have the more budget hotels, such as Disney Santa Fe Hotel, Disney's Hotel Cheyenne. You then have kind of middle range one like Disney Sequoia Lodge. And then you kind of have the upper end where you've got Disney's Newport Bay, you've got the Art of Marvel Hotel, which is kind of the newest, most exciting hotel, if you like, at Disneyland Paris, sorry. And you also have the Disneyland Hotel, which is currently under refurbishment, not due to really open until 2024. And then you have two other hotels. You've got one which is called Le Village Nature, or something like that, which is like a Center Park style Disneyland Paris hotel. And you've also got Davy Crockett Lodge, but I'll come on to that in a little bit more detail in a moment because there's something specific to know about that one. But you can also choose to stay off-site. You do not have to stay on Disneyland property. There are some really good partner hotels, I suppose you would call them, around the edge of Disneyland Paris. Some just off the top of my head that I've heard of is Disney's Dream Castle. I believe there's one called the Explorers Hotel, and then Campanile de Ville as well is another one. But basically just do your research into these. I've never stayed at any of them, so I can't really comment on those specifically. But they are options. A lot of them do provide shuttles to the parks as well, so it's easy enough to get to. And of course, they are a bit cheaper than the Disneyland Paris hotels. Alternatively, you could look at Airbnb. I think that I've known a few people who've used an Airbnb to stay, again, kind of in the areas just outside of Disneyland Paris. A popular area is near Val d'Europe, which is basically like a large shopping centre. But there's also, I think, places where you can there's like bakeries, patisseries. So if you're looking for more like an apartment style holiday, you just want to travel into Disneyland Paris, or alternatively, you want to split your holiday and go into Paris City Centre itself, I believe you can get the RER train from around that area as well. So that is also something you could consider. For us, we are staying on Disney property on this particular holiday, and we are staying at Disney's Hotel Cheyenne. So one of the more budget-friendly options, but nonetheless, it looks like a great hotel. It's basically Wild West Toy Story theme. We are staying in a Woody's Roundup standard room for this trip. We are near facilities, and we have combined that with a 4-day park ticket. We personally chose to book directly through Disney. I would personally say if you're looking at staying at a Disney hotel, then I would always recommend booking direct through Disney. I believe they have the best flexibility. They allowed us to pay for the trip in installments. But as I said, with Disney, typically they're very good in terms of flexibility. If you wanted to change your trip, dates, etc., usually Disney will allow you to do so, perhaps with a small admin fee. So yeah, that's really kind of why we've done that. You can also book with other parties. I know attraction tickets are really highly recommended. You can book park tickets through them. I believe you can book hotels through attraction tickets as well. But ultimately, we are staying at a Disneyland hotel. Now, what are the benefits of staying on site v off site? Well, it's a similar debate, obviously, people talk about in Florida. I think with Disneyland Paris, the main one is you get 1 hour early park entry. So you'll get in before the general public. Typically, people will use that time to go on the bigger rides and the rides that have higher wait times. So that's certainly a big benefit as well. I think you may also get a little bit of an earlier window to book your Disneyland restaurants, and on top of that, you can attach a meal plan to your holiday if you're staying on Disney property. On top of that, you can also walk to the parks from all of the Disney hotels, with the exception of one or two, and you can get a shuttle. A lot of people do say it's actually quicker just to walk than to get the shuttle and to push and shove and have to get onto the bus, because I think it can get quite crowded. It's maybe not as organised as, say, in Walt Disney World. So perhaps, if you can, then I'd recommend walking between the resort and the Disneyland parks. Just a quick mention of the other two then. So you've got the Center Parks themed Disneyland Hotel and Davy Crockett's Lodge as well. I don't believe either of them are walking distance. And the Davy Crockett's Lodge, hopefully I'm saying that right, It's kind of like a woodland style hotel in Disneyland Paris. And you can only stay at this resort if you are traveling by car. You have to have a car to stay there. Now, of course, you could fly over to Disneyland Paris and then hire a car, drive from the airport and park there if you really wanted to visit that hotel. But for example, you couldn't go via Eurostar and then get a bus, for example, over to Davy's Crockett Lodge. It doesn't work that way. Now, the flip side of that is Davy Crockett Lodge is typically cheaper than a lot of the other Disneyland Paris hotels. So that does that. If you're obviously looking for a cheaper holiday, you're happy to drive, or you're planning on driving anyway, then that may be the hotel for you. But basically, there's loads of ways you can weigh up. Obviously, if you've got a huge Marvel fan in your family and you can afford it, then the new Art of Marvel hotel is probably worth visiting. We are hoping to go there during this vlog for a drink, to have a look around. If you're after more of a kind of cozy woodland vibe, then you've got obviously Davy Crockett or Sequoia Lodge. It's highly recommended. Newport Bay is one of the more fancy Disneyland Paris hotel options. It is massive, just to bear that in mind. In terms of, I think I've heard people say it can take about 10 minutes to walk from your room to the foyer area. So yeah, but Disney's Newport Bay, it's kind of beach club, yacht club vibes from Walt Disney World Resort. And then for us, Hotel Cheyenne, it kind of was a really good middle ground. It's a value hotel, but really good theming. Got everything I've heard about it has been good. So hopefully we'll be able to say the same. And then Santa Fe I've stayed in before. That's kind of a Cars themed. It's a bit more basic, I will admit, but it still, does the job. And it's worth bearing in mind that if you get the meal plan, which I'll come on to in a moment, then all of these Disneyland Paris resorts will provide their breakfast for you. Typically, that's a breakfast buffet. However, if you're at the Davy Crockett Lodge, I believe you get like a kind of a breakfast pack with croissants and things like that. But I haven't actually stayed there, so if any information on that isn't entirely true, I do apologise. But yeah, we are staying at Disney's Hotel Cheyenne, and we will be staying there for 3 nights with 4 days of park tickets. So just quickly going to add another point in, actually kind of relating back to the accommodation. The night before we travel to Disneyland Paris, we are staying at a hotel by King's Cross St Pancras. Now, a lot of people do this, I think, because obviously it's an early train. We're getting around the 10:15 train from London to Disneyland Paris. So for us, because we don't live near London, it makes sense to stay in London the night before. And we will vlog a little bit of this, but we are staying at the Hub by Premier Inn by London King's Cross St Pancras. Now, for any of you who watched our London theatre vlog trip from 2022, we stayed in a Hub by Premier Inn hotel then as well. Really recommend it. They're very small, very concise, so maybe not good for big families or big groups of you. But for a couple like us or a solo traveller, they are perfect. Really good, concise space, pretty cheap compared to what the going rate for a hotel in London is at the moment. And we are literally like kind of within a 5-minute walk from the hotel to London's King's Cross St Pancras. So yeah, we'll do a little kind of pre-travel day thing, show you that hotel as well, if that's something you want to check out. I just thought I'd mention it. So next we're going to talk about food, and any of you who watched our Walt Disney World Florida vlog series from last year, I'll put a link in the description, will know that Jenny and I loved making use of the table service options in the Disney parks, and we're also got a few table service options up our sleeve for this Disneyland Paris trip. Now, I will say that we have gone for the half board plus meal plan. Now, basically, again, I'll come to costs at the end of the video, but we added this onto our package a little bit after actually we booked. So don't feel that you have to book a meal plan when you come to book your holiday. You might want to have a think about it. You might want to crunch the numbers. You might want to look at a few videos and kind of see, what restaurants you might want to go to and if it's worthwhile. I haven't done it yet, but my personal understanding is that the half-board meal plan, or any of the meal plans for that matter, are only really worth the money if you are the kind of person who likes to eat in the Disney restaurants. If you are going to continuously just be going to the quick service, fast food kind of places, grabbing a burger, chicken, that kind of thing, salads, whatever, then it's probably not financially, it doesn't make financial sense really to do the meal plan. What the meal plan basically is you are paying a fee up front, and then once you're there, you do not really have to worry about spending out for big meals. You get set menus, but these set menus are typically very generous in Disneyland Paris. They usually include a starter, main dessert and drink. And yeah, you can then go ahead and book your dining options. Now, like I said, we've gone for half board plus the half board plus meal plan. Now, what we get for that is we get 1 breakfast and then 1 lunch or dinner for every night of our stay. So the only thing we have to pay for is if, say, for example, we get a breakfast and a dinner one day, we might want to grab a snack in the middle of the day or a light lunch. We'll pay for that out of our own money. But everything else is included in the meal plan. And in terms of the breakfasts, we will be able to go to our hotel breakfast. So we've got Chuck Wagon Cafe is what it's called at Hotel Cheyenne. And this is basically like a breakfast buffet. Again, sounds like there's pretty good options there as well. But you can also use your meal voucher at a place called Annette's Diner in Disney Village. And this is where you kind of get an American breakfast they do with bacon, sausage, eggs, pancakes, that kind of thing. Ultimately, it's probably better value for money to use your half board plus meal voucher, whatever it's called, at the hotel, because that's a full-on buffet rather than a set meal. But if you're tight on time, or you want to get into Disney Village early or try something different, then it's worth trying Annette's. We will hopefully be doing that for one of our mornings anyway. We have also paid a little top-up fee, which was only equated to about an extra, I think it was 20 euros per person, something like that, to basically have a character breakfast on one of the days. And that is at Plaza Gardens in the Disneyland Paris park, the main park. And we've got that as the first slot early in the morning, so we'll get in before even the early park entry people. And yeah, it's a character breakfast. It's a bit random which characters turn up, but it was just an experience we wanted to go for. Again, it's a big breakfast buffet. It looks like they've got some good options there, sort of your pastries, your bacon, your sausage. So I think some vegetarian options. You've got smoked salmon, things like that. So we're excited to try that. So we've got Plaza Gardens booked for a character breakfast. We're also going to try Chuck Wagon, and we'll probably try Annette's as well. So we'll probably have 3 different breakfasts for our trip. And then in terms of meals, we have booked some dinners or dinner/lunches for our meal plan. We are going to Bistro Chez Remy, we are going to Waltz, and we are going to Pim Kitchen. I won't say any more about that now because you'll see in our vlogs what all of those restaurants are about, but we have booked up our options. Worth noting, if you get a meal plan, that is not a guarantee that you can eat anywhere you want. You still have to book your restaurants. That's a really important thing to remember. So even if you've paid the extra for a full board meal plan, a half board meal plan, etc., then you will still have to book your restaurants and do it soon. Basically, we are now within a few weeks of going on our trip, and there's pretty much nothing available. Fortunately, we booked ours several months ago. I believe it actually opens about a year in advance, but they typically release more times as the closer you get. So for example, Bistro Chez Remy, I think I booked in about October time. Something like that, quite a few months ago, whereas Waltz I booked a couple of months ago. So just bear that in mind, that you have to make sure that if you've booked your Disneyland Paris trip, if you want to eat at these restaurants, like with Walt Disney World, you need to book your tables as soon as possible. So that's the option with the half board meal plan. A quick mention, if you do not want to do the meal plans, it's absolutely fine. You can completely do that. Just bear in mind that if you don't do the meal plan and then you end up, say, going to Remy's, going to Waltz, going to downtown at the Marvel Hotel, or going to any of the sort of table service restaurants, you will end up paying more than if you got a meal plan. But of course, if you go and you just decide you want McDonald's in Disney Village, Earl of Sandwich in Disney Village, and then a couple of the quick service restaurants within the parks themselves, then that's going to work out cheaper for you. So it all depends on what kind of person you are, if you want to grab and go and just keep on the move, or if you like breaking up your day with sitting down at table service restaurants. We personally love to go to these table service restaurants, and it's one of the parts of the trip I think we're most excited about. Now, just to touch on the parks themselves, obviously, for those who don't know, you have 2 parks in Disneyland Paris. You have the Disneyland Park, which is your standard park, where the castle is, like that of Magic Kingdom in Walt Disney World, Florida. And then you have your Walt Disney Studios Park. Now, this is a secondary park. It's a bit smaller. It's kind of, I suppose, a bit of inspired by Hollywood Studios in Walt Disney World, Florida as well. It's got a bad rep over the years, Walt Disney Studios, as being the worst Disney park in the world. I think a lot of that came from underfunding, it being a smaller park. There wasn't a lot of effort put into it initially. However, it has had a bit of a makeover. Avengers Campus has since opened up in 2022 with 2 Marvel-themed rides, a sit-down table service restaurant, Pim Kitchen, where we are going, and a quick service called Stark's Factory, I believe it's called, as well as lots of Marvel characters walking out and about. So if you're a Marvel fan, that is worth checking out. On top of that, you do have the Pixar area there still with Crush's Coaster, the Ratatouille ride, which was first in France before it was in Florida as well. And you also have kind of a sort of Toy Story Playland section in that park as well. So I think the rep it gets is a little bit harsh. It's obviously one of the smaller parks. You could probably do it all comfortably in a day, but it's still a good park and we're still very much excited for it. In terms of things we're most excited about, obviously Jenny's not in this video at the moment. She will be in the vlog series, of course. But in terms of things we're both excited about, I think we are excited about the 30th anniversary celebrations. We were in Disney World in Florida for the 50th celebrations last year. And the 30th celebrations are supposed to be even better in terms of the effort that Paris have gone to mark that occasion. I know there's a lot of decorations about down Main Street at the park entrance. They have a 30th anniversary drone show along with which kind of just starts before the fireworks illuminations at night as well. You've got an Avengers drone show which has just started up in the Studios Park as well. That is only running till midsummer. I don't know an exact date for that, but that's not around for too long. I think it's May. that stops running. But yeah, the Avengers drone show is supposed to be really cool. And of course you have your classics like Disney merchandise and Disney snacks as well, themed to the 30th. So we're excited to kind of just be there for the 30th celebrations. It's always good to be in a Disney park when they're celebrating something, which does seem to be all of the time, but great nonetheless. And then I suppose in terms of other things, I'm particularly looking forward to a couple of individual rides. Star Wars Hyperspace Mounting in Disneyland Park is amazing. I love space mounting in Florida. It's one of my favourite rides. I actually have the space mounting ears that Jenny got just behind me there. I've probably been blocking the whole time. But Hyperspace Mounting is a more intense version. It's got inversions, it's quicker, it's obviously Star Wars themed, which is great. So I'm excited for that. I'm really excited to see Avengers Campus for the first time and try out the Spider-Man Web Adventure ride. And another thing I'm really excited for is they've got a Lion King Rhythm of the Pride Lands show, which I've known people who've seen it on West End like we have, and they've said it's kind of on par. It's like a clipped version. It's about a half-hour show. So really do recommend that. I've not even seen it yet, and I'm recommending it to you to go and see if you go to Disneyland Paris. It sounds like a must-not-miss show. And the shows generally in Disneyland Paris are pretty good. There's also a Mickey and the Magician show, which has had a little hiatus earlier in the year, but it's back now. I've seen that before. My last trip to Disneyland Paris was 2017. So quite a lot has changed since I last went, and obviously I think Jenny was even before that potentially, or maybe after that. But this is our first trip together nonetheless. A lot to look forward to. We are sad because we understand that Big Thunder Mountain is going to be shut when we go. That is one of the rides I was most excited for, but you can't have it your own way. Obviously Disney have to do their maintenance, they have to do their refurbishments. Just bear that in mind, especially if you're going in kind of off-peak season like we are. I'd say if you're going January, February, March, even early April, there's a good chance that there will be at least kind of one major attraction shut, because obviously Disney is open all year round, so they have to shut things down on occasion. But it's still obviously annoying if one of your favourite attractions is shut. It's a Small World is another that is down when we go, I think, although they've not really given a date for when that's going to be opening up again. So that's down, unfortunately, too. But otherwise, I think all of the kind of rides that we're really looking forward to are open. We're obviously looking forward to the fireworks, looking forward to the food, looking forward to everything about it, and just being back in a Disney park. We're so grateful to be able to go, to be able to vlog it. We really enjoyed vlogging our first trip. We are completely new to this. So obviously I do apologise for any editing faux pas, but like I say, we're still finding our feet as vloggers, and if you do like what you see, then please do give us a like. Please do subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so that when the videos come out, you'll be among the first to see them. Like I say, we'll be having quite a detailed Disneyland Paris vlog series come up. Following that, I'll be doing some Disneyland Paris tips videos based on what we've experienced. And then we've got a couple of trips planned through the summer, and something very exciting at the end of 2023, another big trip planned, but no more about that for now. Now, something else important to touch upon, it might not be relevant to all of you watching, so feel free to skip this part if it's not, but disability services. Now, Jenny does have a couple of physical disabilities, and she's had disabilities which also meant she qualified for the DAS, Disability Access Service, I think it's called, in Florida last year. That really helped us out. Meant we were able to do far more than we would have been able to do without it, because obviously, like I said, Jenny's got conditions which means she can't queue for as long as other people. For this particular trip, we are actually taking our wheelchair. Jenny is a kind of a part-time wheelchair user, so she can walk about, she can walk up, climb ladders, walk upstairs in an emergency, but obviously the point is there's a difference between an emergency and kind of preventative reasons of not having to do that. So we've got our own wheelchair, which we're taking with us. You can hire them in the parks if you want, but they can be expensive, and there's quite a hefty deposit. I think they were talking about €200 deposit at the start, and you don't get that back till the end. So obviously that's a lot of money to part with throughout the course of a holiday. So bear that in mind if you're doing that. But we are taking our wheelchair with us. We've got the sort of fast track access at the Eurostar. They're going to hopefully help us, because obviously I've got to carry the cases. Jenny will be in the wheelchair. They're going to assist us with that as well. But Disneyland Paris also have their own disability system. Now, it's a bit different to Florida. So if you're unaware, I'll kind of do my best to explain it. You've got two things. You've got Disney's access cards, and you've got their priority pass. Now, the access card, access pass, I believe is for more like temporary disability. Say, for example, if you've broken your leg, or if you've got kind of a temporary condition, I believe. then that is basically a link to kind of return times. So you typically go to the front of the queue and you'll get a return time and come back. You then have the Disney Priority Pass, which is what we've applied for, which what we will be applying for in the park. And this is for people with obviously long-term disabilities who, for whatever reason, cannot use the typical queue system. So this might be because of a physical disability, this might be because of autism, anything like that. Now, to get the priority card, you have to provide evidence. Now, that's obviously not the same for Walt Disney World Florida, but in Disneyland Paris, you do have to provide evidence. Now, Jenny has a blue badge, so we will be using that. You can also use a range of other documents. You can basically just go on to the Disneyland Paris website to apply for it, and then you can apply up to a month before your trip. And then basically it asks you if you've got, it lists kind of forms of ID, asks if you've got any of them. If you have, then you can proceed with applying for the pass. You answer a few questions, and that gives them a rough idea of what kind of pass suits you, because there are different ones. There's a green pass, there's a purple pass as well. And then basically at the end of that, you'll then have a code. And when you go to Disneyland Paris, you have to either go to City Hall at Disneyland Park or the guest services at the Disney Studios Park. Basically you just go there, you then give them the code, they'll then process a disability card for you. Typically will have your photo on it, although the printer's been known to break, and then you can basically use that, take it up to a cast member at the start of any queue, and you will be given an alternative queue. Sometimes you'll go through the priority access queue, sometimes you'll enter through the exit, for example. It's worth bearing in mind there are a couple of rides that if you are fully immobile, you will not be able to do, because obviously you need to be evacuate in an emergency. Like I say, Jenny can evacuate in an emergency, so I don't think that's going to impede us too much, but obviously we will be led by the cast members in terms of what they believe is the most appropriate pass for her. Hopefully I've explained that as best I can. I'm not a disabled person myself. I have not got experience of using disability services in Disneyland Paris, but from all my research, that is how I believe they work. So just make sure you look into that beforehand. If you have a disability, if you do qualify, make sure you get the disability pass, because it will make all the difference on your trip. Those queues can get pretty hectic. Same goes with the character meet and greets and things. And the last thing you want is your holiday being ruined because you can't queue for as long as that particular queue is, and then you have to miss out on a ride. That shouldn't be the case. If you've got a disability, make use of the disability priority card. So one important thing obviously to note is cost, and how much does it cost to go to Disneyland Paris in 2023? Well, there's no definitive answer. As ever, you can do a Disneyland holiday in any way you like. You could go for 2 days, 1 night, stay off site, just eat quick service and cut down the costs significantly. Or alternatively, you could go for a week at the higher end hotels, eat out in a restaurant every single night, and it will cost you a lot more. So all I can do really is tell you how much we paid for what we will be getting, if that makes sense. So to break it down with kind of each set, we'll start with the Eurostar. Probably, I'd say the Eurostar is more expensive, probably the most expensive transport option, but obviously it's also the most convenient. You don't have to worry about, if you also factor in the cost of shuttles to and from airports and stuff, there's probably not a lot in it. But for our Eurostar, rounded up, we paid about £320 for the 2 of us, and that includes standard going out, Premier coming back. Like I say, you don't have to pay for luggage and things with Eurostar. You don't have to worry about weights and things like that. But yeah, we've paid about £320 for the Eurostar. Then moving on to our hotel and park tickets. As I said, we booked through Disney directly. I do think that typically there's not a lot in it price-wise. You can book through travel agents. You can book through these third parties who basically put together your travel, your food, your hotel and all of that. That will typically be more expensive than booking it yourself. But with Disney, I think we got a fairly reasonable deal, I would say, for 3 nights at the Hotel Cheyenne, one of the more value hotels in Disneyland Paris, with 4-day park tickets, access to both parks. It's cost us £830. And then on top of that, later down the line, we added the half board plus meal plan, which, just to remind you, gives us a breakfast and then a lunch or dinner for each night of our stay. So what is that? That's 6 meals basically. And that came to £317 for the 2 of us. Definitely worth your money if you plan on eating at the sit-down table service restaurants where you typically have 3 courses. It is cheaper. And then we paid a supplement of £23 in total for the character breakfast Plaza Garden. So it was actually even cheaper than I said earlier. So £23 in total for the two of us for the character breakfast on top of the meal plan. Obviously, it would cost a lot more than that if you didn't have the meal plan in the first place. So then in terms of the Disney side of things, including their taxes, etc., the Disney package, including the hotel tickets, the express luggage service, which is about £30, the meal plan, including the breakfast, we paid the whole Disney package, which is about £1,200 for two people, so £600 each. Then we obviously had £300 for the Eurostar. In terms of souvenirs and food money, obviously we don't have to worry too much about food money because we got the meal plan. We are only really probably going to buy the odd lunch and snacks. And then obviously souvenirs, I've heard that there's not a lot going on in terms of souvenirs in Disneyland Paris. I hope I'm wrong in terms of the merchandise stuff, but we've allowed ourselves about €300, give or take, for the 4 days. So I think if you put all of that together, including the Disney package, the Eurostar, the extras, you're looking at around £1,800 for the two of us for the entire trip. Now, I'd like to disclose you do not have to spend that amount. You could spend a lot more. Obviously, it depends how many of you are going. It depends where you're going to stay. There's a big difference between staying at an Airbnb and staying at the Marvel Hotel on Disneyland Paris property. There's a big difference, I think, between driving and getting the Eurostar. There is also a big difference between eating, McDonald's every day against going to one of the higher end restaurants like Waltz or Bistro Chez Remy, for example. So I think they're the things that you've got to factor in. You can do this any way you want. It's the beauty of a Disney holiday. It can be different every single time you go. But I thought I'd just give you a rough idea of the costs there. Typically, I do think as well, Disneyland Paris is cheaper than Florida. Obviously, not just in terms of the package, that goes without saying, but I mean in terms of items within the park. I think that actually Disney's quick service options are quite competitive by theme park standards. So whereas in Florida, you would maybe pay out $17 for a burger and fries, and that may not even include a drink. I think in Paris they're quite good with their meal deals at the quick service. If you're looking at that, for like €15 you could get a burger, fries and drink, or in some cases €20 you'd get burger, fries, drink and a dessert. So they are pretty good, I think, with that. They're a little bit better than Florida prices. It's still Disney, it's still expensive, but it's a little bit better. Anyway, that's a little look at the costs of the trip. So that is all for this video, this Disneyland Paris planning video. Hopefully I've not rambled on too much, but basically I just wanted to kind of build up to our upcoming vlog series, but also give you some tips if you are planning a Disneyland Paris trip anytime soon, or even if you were just thinking about it. Obviously, we will be vlogging the entire trip, hopefully going into even more detail than we did in our past vlog series. So if you want to see an upcoming Disneyland Paris vlog series, please do subscribe, click that bell icon, like this video, and we will hopefully deliver to you a really enjoyable vlog series, an informative vlog series. And then when we come back, I will also do some videos reflecting on the trip, what we thought about different places, and how things like the disability pass system worked in more detail. Ultimately, if there's anything you want to see or want to know more about Disneyland Paris, then please do put in the comments below, let me know, and I can put a video around that for you, because I just want to basically help other people go into Disneyland Paris, because Disney holidays can be incredible. They can be a magical experience for families, for couples, for individuals, but they can also be very stressful, especially when it comes to the planning. So do not get too distraught by the planning stage of it. Make sure you just do your research and have a good time ultimately, because it is Disney at the end of the day. Thank you once again. Please like, subscribe, and we will see you in Disneyland Paris. Goodbye.